Good morning, everybody. This segment is called Meet the Candidate. And this morning, we have a candidate here present live running for mayor of New York City, Comptroller Scott Stringer. And we're glad to have him today. We want to have a conversation to get to know the candidate who is running to run our city. As you know, St. Paul Community Baptist Church opens up to all candidates to share their platform and to what it is that they believe and what they're running on, but also to let everybody know what it is we believe in and what it is we're fighting for. And as you know, we're fighting for affordable housing in this city. We're fighting for public housing to be put back to order, out of disrepair, to be repaired from top to bottom. We're fighting for senior affordability in this city. We're fighting for criminal justice reform. We're fighting for educational reform in our city. And I'm glad today to have Scott Stringer. You've seen, I believe, our vision statement for the city of New York and all that we stand for today. And in that vision statement that talked about affordable housing, education, talked about public housing, repair, what is it that stands out most for you? And what is it that you want everybody in St. Paul and St. Paul Nation to know about you and your candidacy?
Well, Reverend Brawley, I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity in the church community. This is not, as we talked earlier, my first rodeo here. I have spent more than one night on this stage with you holding elected officials accountable to the principle of building real affordable housing, fighting to save NYCHA, and to make sure the economy works for everybody. And that is exactly what my campaign for mayor is all about. You see, over the last 8 years, this current administration built housing, and they said it was affordable, but as we know in this community, it was really building affordable housing, working with the wealthiest developers to do zonings that ended up displacing people into homeless shelters. So the question is, where do we go from here in this recovery? Well, first, we can't open the economy the same way we closed it. We saw what COVID did, especially in communities of color. I lost my own mother to COVID. She died in a Bronx hospital. And I was told the night of her passing was that you have to understand this disease, this virus, is coming for the neighborhoods where the city has not invested in. So for me, this is personal. I'm going to build real affordable housing. And the way we're going to do it, Reverend, is by giving the land back to the people. We have so many vacant parcels of land, hundreds and hundreds of parcels in Brooklyn. Why do we give it to the wealthy developers? Let's give it to the community-based organizations, working with the church community. Get the AMI low, under $40,000 a year for a family of three, instead of building so-called affordable housing for people who make $150,000 or more. That's not right, that's not fair, and that is why we have a spiraling homeless population, because we talk about homelessness and we do everything about homelessness except provide a home to someone who's working in shelter. That has to stop.
Let me just raise two more things. This Tuesday night, we're going to gather virtually Metro IAF, and you've been invited to be a part of that panel. And we're going to talk about NYCHA. We're going to talk about repairing NYCHA from top to bottom. And as you know, this has been a fight for many years, and our organization has been engaged in this for decades now. We do know that the federal government, the Biden administration, is talking about an infusion of resources. We don't know how much that will be. Right now, it is proposed to be $40 billion. We're fighting, along with Senator Chuck Schumer, to increase that to $80 billion. Whatever that number is, and we know that that will be shared throughout the nation, but whatever that number turns out to be, we need accountability in public housing to have the resources, not have the accountability nor the capacity to spend that money effectively will be detrimental to the future of our city. So you're invited to that panel, but if you want to get a head start today and say something in this moment, feel free.
Well, what I would say at the panel or right now is you're absolutely right. The Biden administration is coming with major resources nationally. Obviously, we need more, but there's no reason why half that money shouldn't come to our city. But here's the thing. We know what happens when money comes. Somehow it never reaches the NYCHA residents. It doesn't reach the buildings that need repairs. You've come to the right place, Reverend. I've done the audits. I've done the investigations. I know how to manage this city. I'm going to bring the management of NYCHA into City Hall, making sure that we protect the 400,000 people who live in NYCHA. It's the size of the city of Boston, and yet we have totally disregarded any hope of repairing. And I'm not going to only rely on the federal government. New York City needs to spend $1.5 billion a year. The state needs to spend $1.5 billion a year. We need to get Battery Park City funding into NYCHA to make those window repairs, stairwell repairs, boiler repairs. We got to make sure there's no lead paint for any child in the complexes of NYCHA. And I just want to say, we owe it to the people in NYCHA. They built this city. I remember growing up in Washington Heights, not far from Dyckman houses. And today, if you go to Ingersoll houses, you know what's across the street? A big luxury building. And you can see Ingersoll just slowly, slowly collapsing. But the people there are the heart and soul of our city. And I'm going to look at every audit, every investigation I did, the work I did with you over the years, and I'm going to make not empty promises, but I'm going to show you through our audits and investigation a roadmap to repairing once and for all the greatest housing stock that a mayor ever built, right? Because Mayor LaGuardia built public housing. We forget that mayor's job is to not build housing that's luxury. It's to build housing for the people who are the frontline workers, the nurses, the folks who are raising their kids. That's the job of the mayor going back to the 1930s. And I'm going to continue that tradition through LaGuardia when I'm mayor in a few months.
Well, okay, so I just want to put it this way. NYCHA is the last bastion of true affordability in this city. So can we count on you, if you are to become mayor of New York City, that not only will you do audits, as you've done as the comptroller, but you'll be a leader?
I'm moving NYCHA management, the repair program, into City Hall. I'm not letting it go to a monitor, a chair, more bureaucracy at NYCHA. I'm going to go building by building with the people at City Hall, and we're going to work with the community and stakeholders to repair NYCHA. And by the way, I made that promise to you as controller sitting here in this church many years ago. I have not wavered in my commitment. You know me because I have always shown up, and we work together to move the ball. It's now time to finish the job.
All right, so we've got to close this segment, but before we go, just two things. In your first 90 days, who do you plan to meet with in the first 90 days? It's a setup. It's an easy question.
I'm first in the 90 days, Reverend Brawley, because he's going to say, I need to meet with you in the community, and I'll be here.
Good answer. And Metro IAF, East Brooklyn congregations in the first 90 days so that we can work together to make sure that we build this city back better. Of course.
You have my pledge. I'm going to be sitting in my seat over here.
All right.
Just like I always have been. And I'll wait my turn when you call me up, and you're going to ask me 5 questions about the first 100 days, and I will have answers for you.
We also want to remind you we need senior affordability in this city. But before we close out, I want to give you an opportunity to look in the camera, talk to St. Paul Nation, tell them who you are and why they should vote for you.
Well, thank you, Reverend, again, and thank you, St. Paul. Look, you know me. I've served as a borough president, I've served in the assembly, and I've served as the chief fiscal officer of the city. But being mayor is more than just holding some important jobs. Being mayor is feeling it. And I'm a kid who grew up in Washington Heights. I'm raising 2 children of my own. I got married late in life, so I have a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old. They're in public school. I see the world through their eyes. But I also know that we have too many children today who are living in homeless shelters without remote learning devices, too many kids in public housing that don't have internet access. And we need to change that for our children. These are the children many of us will never meet, but they're our children. And mayors have to represent all children. And finally, nothing's going to move in this city unless everyone has a roof over their head coming out of the pandemic. We cannot go back to the status quo. We need somebody who has big vision, proven ideas, but we also need someone who knows how to govern, someone who can walk into City Hall on day one and say to the people of the city, let's go, let's get off the sidelines, let's rebuild bigger, let's build fairer, and let's build stronger. Thank you.
Look forward to seeing you Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. as Metro IAF hosts its first forum. We have a conversation about public housing, our vision for public housing, and to hear from all of our candidates who will respond to that vision statement. Again, Comptroller, it's always good seeing you. Best of luck to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.